So what is going on, guys? I am Black Ops Mason. Welcome back to another zombies video on the channel, back with another Q&A where I take your questions from the comment section below and answer them. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to drop a like, rate it if you want to. If not, it's totally fine. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest videos, but let's get into this. Here we go. So the first question of today from the Smiley Gamer says, "Hey BOA, why in Black Ops 2's Mob of the Dead can you become ghosts after you are electrocuted, but in Black Ops 4's Blood of the Dead, you can't?" So basically, why can you go into Purgatory, into the afterlife in Mob of the Dead, but you can't in Blood of the Dead? They're supposed to be the same maps, right? They take place in the same location, Alcatraz. Brutus exists here, but why can't our Primus crew go into the afterlife like the Mob of the Dead crew? So I always see a lot of people asking this in the comment section, but I've never really seen a proper answer to it. I don't believe it's been explained to us by Treyarch. None of the characters really mention it in game. It's not in the Chronorium, so I can't give you a 100% answer, but I believe it's down to the fact that our Primus crew haven't died. Remember back in Mob of the Dead, our three characters, Billy, Sal and Finn, were sent to death by electric chair after they killed the weasel on the rooftop, and so because all four characters had sinned and then been killed in real life, because they had died, they'd been sent to the afterlife. However, our Primus crew haven't died, and because of that, well, if you're not dead, you can't enter the afterlife. You have to die first. The Ultimus versions of them have died, at least most of them. Richtoffen's, Takio's, and Dempsey's. As we know, Nikolai's isn't dead at this point, but their Primus versions are still alive, and so I believe that is the reason why they can't turn into ghosts, as you say. However, it is quite strange because we do see ghosts in this map. We can see other characters, other souls floating around, but the Primus crew, unlike the Mob of the Dead crew, can't become one, and I believe it is for that reason. There could be another explanation. If you guys have a better idea, let me know down below. The next question of today, again, this is to do with Mob of the Dead, and it is from Applejack. He says, "Hey BOA, in Mob of the Dead, why is there a dead body in the electric cherry perk? Please answer. Keep up the good." I assume you were going to say videos. So if we go over to the electric cherry perk, remember you can only get this in Mob of the Dead. It is available in other maps like Origins, Horizon, Zetsubo, Gorod and Revelations. However, not in the perk machine form. You can only get it from the Wonder Fizz. But Mob of the Dead was the first time we actually saw this, and if you go up to the machine, you will notice something very strange, because inside there is a dead body. You can see there is a zombie stuffed inside of the perk machine. Now you can also see it's very rusty. There is a blood splatter over the glass. A lot of people said that this blood splatter looks similar to the Grim Reaper. The way the blood drips at the bottom kind of looks like they're floating. And then there's the head and the arms. I mean, to me, that's a little bit of a stretch, but it could be what Treyarch were going for, to try and make this blood spatter look like, as they say, the Grim Reaper or a ghost in the afterlife. But the main focus of this is inside where all the perk bottles are. There is a zombie that has been stuffed there. His face is looking up through the glass and his hand is against it. Now, why is this zombie here? We don't know. I wouldn't have thought there was any proper storyline meaning behind it, but it is interesting because we know the perks were made by Group 935 and the scientists over at Ascension, as well as a few other people. So you'd have to ask the question exactly how this zombie got in there. Did someone just stuff it in there, or did it accidentally climb in, get trapped and eventually die over time? I mean, it does look cold in there, so maybe it froze to death. It kind of does look like it with the way its face is. I don't think we'll ever know how this zombie got in there, but it is interesting, and it's a different looking perk machine. I know for some reason quite a few people don't rate Electric Cherry. Personally, I think it's a very good perk, and it's normally one of the 4 that I would pick up. The name of it, Electric Cherry, is actually a wordplay on electric chair. Of course, a very important feature in Mob of the Dead, the way our characters died, so electric chair, electric cherry. But answering your main question, well, we don't exactly know how that zombie got in there. Either someone put it in, or it accidentally ended up there somehow. The next question from Kashi Snipe says, "In Origins, what does Samantha mean when she says, you will be rewarded beyond your imagination to the characters. Love your videos. Okay, so going back to Origins in the ending cutscene, where we know Samantha and Eddie were playing with our characters as toys. At the beginning of that ending outro, Samantha says, as the gates to Agartha opened, the 4 heroes were rewarded with riches beyond their imagination. From that day forward, they knew that Samantha would keep them safe forever.
As the gates to Agartha opened, the 4 heroes were rewarded with riches beyond imagination. From that day forward, they knew that Samantha would keep them safe forever.
Well, if you take your minds back all the way to Black Ops 2 Origins, when we saw this for the very first time, remember that everyone thought this meant that our whole zombie storyline was being played out by these 2 children. We were basically a game in their head. Our zombies characters were toys. That's what most of us thought when we first saw this. As we know, now that isn't the case. And actually these 2 children, Samantha and Eddie, have been put in the house by Dr. Monty, and he has given them these toys who look like our characters to play with. The zombie storyline isn't a game made up in their heads. This video is just showing them playing zombies with these action figures, who happen to be our characters. We can see they're playing with the Panzer Soldat, the Primus characters, a zombie from Mob of the Dead, the Rocket, the buried zombie. There doesn't seem to be a map, a certain scenario that they're playing out. Like I said, that's not how it works, that's what we used to think. And we can see on the walls we have chalk drawings of the weapons, all of the posters, there is the transit bus in the background, the mystery box. It is very suspicious. However, as you say in your question, what we never really found out is what Samantha means when she said the 4 heroes, being the Primus characters, were rewarded with riches beyond their imagination. What did Samantha mean by this? There must have been a reason why Treyarch picked these quotes out for Samantha to say, because right now it doesn't really make sense. It doesn't seem to have any correlation with our zombie storyline because our Primus heroes haven't been rewarded. She also said from that day on Samantha would keep them safe forever. Again, that hasn't happened. After Origins, our characters have just gone on to kill their ultimate versions of themselves. That is definitely not riches beyond their imagination. The only other scenario I would think they could be talking about is after Revelations, but we know after that the cycle is reset, the characters are sent back to the Great War, and then after they defeat the Apothicons, they disappear. Possibly that's what Treyarch were trying to reference, and maybe after DLC 4, when we get to the Great War and we see our characters defeat the Apothicons, maybe then we'll see them be rewarded with riches beyond their imagination, and possibly then that is when we'll see Samantha keep them safe. That could be it, but like I said, this cutscene is literally just showing them playing a game of zombies. So because of that, it could mean nothing at all. It's just something that Samantha is saying. Although I do find that hard to believe because there has to have been a reason why Treyarch picked these specific words for her to say, when we've never in our zombie storyline seen them, as she says, be rewarded. All they've ever gone through is terror and dread. The next question from Lisa says, why do we have gods in zombies? This is a pretty simple answer because our new zombie storyline seems to be following mythology, whereas in the old Ether story it was more based on science, or at least that's what it was like in the beginning. As we know, later on it's become more and more crazy and we've got aliens involved and stuff like that. And there is a god in the Ether storyline being Dr. Monty, but of course that is one that Treyarch have made up. And the Chaos story seems to be following more real life mythology like Greek or Egyptian, Norse, so that is why there are gods. If you're asking me why there is a god, I mean that's something I can't answer, but there we go. The next question from Cameron Dowd says, BOA, in Buried, why did the transit crew leave Leroy in the Maxis Easter egg ending? Please answer. So yes, in the Maxis ending, which is canon, we know, as I've said this many times, Maxis, he gained control of the Ether's energy. He took over Richtofen's position as leader of the zombies. We know he then sent Richtofen's soul inside of a zombie and told the transit crew that neither them or the Earth, any of its people on it, will survive, including themselves and Leroy, or Arthur. However, we know that an alternate version of Primus Richtofen opened up a rift for the transit crew in Buried, allowing them to go through it and escape. But as you say in your question, they didn't take Leroy with them. He was left behind, and a couple of days later, Maxis destroyed this universe, killing everything, including Leroy. So you're asking, why did the transit crew leave him behind? Why didn't they take him? Well, first off, why would they? I mean, they don't really know him. Yes, he helped them, but I don't see a reason why they would need to take him. I'm not exactly sure how they would get him to follow. I suppose they could have taken booze or candy or something like that, but Leroy's a bit of an idiot, let's not lie. I don't think he was any use to the transit crew after buried, so they wouldn't have needed him, and if they did, I'm sure that Primus Richtofen would have found a way to help him escape as well, but Leroy simply wasn't needed, and I'm sure with all of the things that the transit crew needed to do after, going to Broken Arrow's facilities, collecting the shard, going to the Empty Earth, Leroy would have been a massive burden. He might have got them killed. I could see him not really helping with their mission, so there was no need to take him. It is kind of sad that they left him behind to die, but he wasn't needed. Anyway, guys, there we go. That is it. That is all I have for you for today's video. As always, hopefully you have enjoyed. If you have, you know what to do. Drop a like, rate it if you want to. If not, it's totally fine. Thank you for watching anyway. Make sure you are subscribed. Leave any questions you have in the comment section below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Until then, goodbye.